Maiden mother master on a mission. 3 and 1 playing my position. Bypassed queen a long time ago. Spiritual gangster, I was born woke. Born woke, born woke. Spiritual gangster, I was born woke. Born woke, hey, born woke. Spiritual gangster, born woke. Greetings, my lovelies. Greetings. So I said to myself when launching this podcast that I would make sure that it was not about current events and, the hot story of the moment, because hot stories fade, and I would like to create something that's timeless. And when the masses discover podcasting, and they would be able to find what I had to say and just still gain from what's being put out here with Maiden Mother Master. I'm going to have to make an exception. I just listened to the Kanye West White House interview, and I have a lot to say about it. And I'm sure, as usual, I will be disagreeing with my African-American counterparts and many Democratic counterparts, although I'm not a Democrat. I am an independent, proudly independent, leaning toward being a socialist. I like to call myself a socio-capitalist. So, but I just have to speak about it. And hopefully my speech won't be as disjointed as Kanye's, but I understood every single thing he said and every point he made, and I did not hear one word that I disagreed with. Not one. So basically, he was saying, I'm going to start with what I agreed with the most, and that was make America great. Not make America great again, but make America great. And if people are truly about greatness, then they are about, first and foremost, love, and then unity, and then action. And those things emanate from both Kanye West and Donald Trump. There is no way I could walk through life hating, disparaging, and being just violently disgusted by any other human, including the president. And as Kanye said, when the president looks good, our entire nation looks good. And because this nation leads, the entire world looks good. So yeah, I would love to wear a Make America Great hat, because America has yet to step into its most profound greatness. It is simply, that's a future thing, a future now, because all time is now. Now that takes us to the C word, the so-called crazy part. And later in this episode, I will play my take on the C word, which is what other people call crazy. Kanye is not crazy. Kanye is not bipolar. Kanye is not manic depressive. Kanye is passionate. And his brain is moving so fast right now that his words are having a hard time keeping up. There's a reason for that. There's a physiological, biological, spiritual, metaphysical, and dimensional reason for what he's experiencing. And I just give thanks and praise that he has the kind of large platform that allows him to get some of these ideas out and make people think. Really think. Not just say, "Oh, he said black people are were complicit in slavery, and they could have just not been slaves." He's right. Oh, he said the 13th Amendment is bad, and that's what's keeping us out of slavery. He's right. He's so right. So let's circle back. Black people went along with slavery. Anytime people are outnumbered almost 100 to 1, and the 100 decide to do what the one person says, there's an agreement being made. We are in agreement that you can tell me and my ancestors what to do, and we're going to go ahead and do that because we are so paralyzed by fear that we surrender ourselves to your will. We don't have to. We can just stand here and let you one by one try to kill all of us. We have that option. But instead, we're going to cower and fearfully surrender to your will. That is slavery in a nutshell. That's it in a nutshell. And I, as a Black woman, still carry in my DNA a very innate fear of my sons, my daughters being harmed. It's irrational. The fear comes from nowhere. We live a nice, cushy life. There's no boogeyman out there. Yet the fear is in my DNA, along with the royalty and loyalty. Like our brother said. So these things are real. We could have fought back. Haiti did. They're still paying the price. They fought back and they kicked the French out of their country, and they did it with a combination of voodoo and magic and powerful, very violent behavior that terrified the French, and they ran screaming away. So there were options out there, and we chose the option of fear, and that's okay. What bothers me today, though, is that we still are choosing the option of fear. We're choosing to lean on excuses and so-called racism and someone else's idea of who we are to define ourselves. We are self-determining people. We are strong-willed people. We are loving, nurturing people. And we have to embrace all parts of ourselves and stop white supremacy in its tracks. And white supremacy is a talk for a different day, because I'm going to stick with the C word today. But one of the main problems that Black people suffer from, and I say Black because this is universal, it's not just an African American problem. It's a problem of feeling less than, a problem of self-esteem, a problem of feeling that whiteness is just innately better. And that translates to lightness is innately better because it's closer to white. So we'll go there. We will definitely go there, but we're not going there today. Another thing, Kanye spoke about reparations and ownership. and our African American brothers and sisters owning something and having an actual stake in their neighborhoods in this country, and that being a way to shape minds differently, and that being a way to help people to see themselves in a more favorable light. And again, he's right. We need more ownership. We have generational renting culture permeating our community, and generations of our people who leave nothing but debt to their seed if and when they choose to leave the planet. So, and that just comes from buying too much stuff, consumerism. You get the money, it's like a hot coal in your hand. You can't wait to run to the mall and to other communities to spend it all on clothes and nails and shoes and trinkets and everything except land and houses and property and things that last and grow. I realized so many of our brothers were not raised by men. That's another thing Brother Kanye spoke about. We women, Black women, African American women, do carry in our DNA the fear that kept our ancestors alive. They just had to walk with it. And whatever is in the DNA of the parent is in the DNA of the offspring. It's just a fact, biological fact, cosmic fact, genetic fact. So when we as women are like, oh, I can raise a man, I can do it all by myself, we can, but it's a substandard job. It's done. They're raised, but they're baby boys in grown man bodies. They don't know how to get out here and actually fend for themselves emotionally and spiritually and physically and mentally in many cases. They don't know how to think like a man. I don't think like a man. I may think like a boss woman, but I don't think like a man because I'm not. And so there's a deficit in our community of men being men because they are not seeing enough men who take the time and spend the time with them, mentoring them, teaching them how to be men. So they learn from TV, they learn from the drug dealer on the street, the pimps. They learn from preachers sometimes, a whole different set of lessons. But they learn from people who are not their flesh and blood, many coaches. They learn from coaches. Now, the coach culture is a strong culture. I just have to say that. We need way more Black men as coaches because the coach culture is powerful, it's strong, it's raising boys into men. So that's strong. The other ones, preachers, are they're all right. I don't know. The teachers are getting strong. And I'm so happy to be a part of a strong teacher corps community that though I'm not a teacher by trade, I am definitely a teacher by calling because I have a burning need to share what I've come to know and what I've come to accept as truth in my own life. And I'm around some of the most powerful teachers this planet has to offer. That too is a story for a different day. But yeah, they're not enough yet. Grown up African men who are willing to take the time and energy to spend with Black boys, giving them leadership and examples to follow. We need more of that. I am solution driven, and I saw that in Kanye and in his speech, basically, which is what it was. The brother has a lot to say, and it's all flowing out. He needs a podcast. He needs a place to channel that energy. But he's definitely saying some profound things. So yes, industry needs to come back. I think industry needs to change, though. I think, yes, jobs are important, but it's also important to have manufacturing innovation. Machines can do basically what people are doing in China, in India, in some of the new manufacturing capitals. And though the manufacturing industry is raising them up a bit, it is not elevating people. That, I think, a lot of artificial intelligence energy should be focused on creating robots and machines that make our jeans and make our shoes and make the things that we deal with every day. That would free up the humans to make life, to make visions come true, to issue us all into an energy-free world where everything is free for everyone. Yes, capitalists, I said that. Believe me, there will still be money for you. Well, not money, but there will still be abundance for you, capitalists. At the same time, greed has to go. So halting innovation and slowing down solar and wind power and electric cars and driverless vehicles, that is, that's just what greed manufactures. And greed has to go. So another thing he touched on is the prison system, which is definitely modern slavery. It is a scourge on our land and in our community. It is the privatization of prisons is something that is just indefensible. It is indefensible to make money that way, in my opinion. So that system and our film, Merkaba Monday, sponsor for today, speaks on some of the things that have happened to perpetuate this prison culture that our country leans on for a lot of its manufacturing right now. I'm really passionate about this issue, and I don't have a lot of words to say about it. It is wrong to lock up so many people, mostly men, and render them useless in society to make your trinkets and little whatevers for pennies on the dollar. It's just, I don't judge much as right or wrong because I do believe in free will, but I'm judgy in that area because there are better ways to teach, to raise, to habilitate, as Brother Kanye said, humans. Locking them up is not the highest way, and it's definitely not a path to making America great. So, and then he, at the end, I thought it was adorable. Big Kanye said, I love this man. I love Donald Trump. And I wrote an essay, I think maybe the day after the election, which I predicted would go the way that it did go back in May of 2016, when the Democrats stole the election, the primary, from Bernie. I knew that if they did indeed nominate Hillary, she would lose spectacularly, which she did, rightfully so, in my opinion. I wrote an essay called Why I Love Donald Trump. It's available on my blog. I didn't share it much. I shared it maybe once on my Facebook page. I'm not a seeker of fame. I'm a seeker of truth. I'm a seeker of goodness, love, power, personal power, not other people's power, personal power. And I'm definitely a seeker of excellence in all that I do, starting with my art, starting with the creations that come forth from me. But in terms of, trying to be famous, that's not a goal. I do want to create amazing art that will live on for generations. So that is something that drives me. So I wrote this essay, and I found myself in the position of sharing with people one-on-one why they should not be depressed that Donald Trump won the election, why they should rejoice because now we're going to have a fresh look at the political swamp that is DC. And I was able to put some hearts at ease and put some minds at ease. Unfortunately, the press has proven itself to be fake in most circumstances, because I've never seen a rant of constant commiseration go on for so freaking long. They are still whining, complaining, bitching, and moaning about what is. Accept what is and then make the best of it. Democrats and press, accept what is and then make the best of it. Accept what is and then make the best of it. The Democrats will lose again if they do not quickly make a turnaround and decide to find and nurture the most powerful candidate they can possibly find for 2020. I have already voted for 2018, and I suggest and strongly urge anyone within the sound of my voice to do the same. Vote your heart, vote your spirit, vote your mind. Vote for change if that's what you want. Vote for consistency if that's what you want. Just vote. Take action. Make your voice be heard. Do not sit around while life happens around you. So I feel that the C word, the word called crazy, needs to be addressed. Mental illness needs to be addressed. Not drugged or medicated, addressed. And the second part of this podcast will just outline my take on it. And it has come over time and through deep meditation, as most things come to me. I meditate quite a bit, and I go within, and I go to places that we all have access to, but most of us don't have time to go to because we're running around trying to make money and doing the rat race thing. I have always put spirit above money. I've always put God above money. So my time with our loving Creator and the spiritual side of life has always taken priority over the rat race for me. Always will. So I do make the time to do that. And with those things said, I'll allow that part now to come forth. Give me more and more and more and more and more. I'll take all that you have, all that you have, and more and more and more and more. 'Cause I never get enough of your love. So I have been going deeply down the rabbit hole of the thing that we call so-called crazy in its various forms. It started with a dream I had of a person who was, well, the person was me, and I was in a car, and I heard my mother's voice in my head saying one of the various things she said, and it triggered me emotionally. And then I had a complete blank spot. And during that blank spot, I backed up the car that I was in and ran it into a guard station and totally destroyed the guard station. The security guard was yelling, screaming at me. He came out, "You ruined this whole thing that I'm in, and da, 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 you could have killed me." This whole thing. And meanwhile, I was still in the blank spot. And when I came out of the blank spot, he's yelling at me. And I look at the car that I was driving, which did not belong to me. It was a car on a set. Long story, but that's kind of the setup of the dream. And my first thought was, did I hurt the car? Because the car wasn't mine. So it was a situation where a person could very easily be called crazy, which I now call the C word, because I just refuse to call people that, because it's really, there's a blank spot in their consciousness for a few moments while the so-called crazy behavior is happening. Okay. So fast forward to last night, I wake up from a dream, and it took me into the long and elaborate world of dementia. My mother is living with dementia at the moment, and her husband has his own special brand of, mental challenges. And so I was in their apartment, which I've never seen, but I was in there, and it was a sort of labyrinth of oddities and strange little quirks and habitual things and little things that have happened to turn their place into this hodgepodge of not so much clutter, but accumulation of odd trinkets and odd little formations of things, odd arrangements. Odd to me as a viewer, but completely rational to them. Okay. During my week this week, I was speaking with a woman who's a librarian. And apparently public libraries have become a sort of dumping ground for the mentally ill. They show up there in the morning. They stay all day. It's free. It's available. It's warm. It's safe for the most part. It's a place. It's a refuge. And since society has chosen not to really deal with the mentally ill, they have sort of an 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 p.m. place to be when the shelters sort of kick them out. So she was telling us stories of the various types of people who come in, and their different idiosyncrasies and their oddities and the things they see, and the beings that they talk to, and she, as a librarian, is having to deal with that all day, every day, while also trying to keep them sequestered from the homeschooled children who are in another part of the library learning. And so she juggles all of these balls. And then I wake up a few days ago and realize that I'm in my own dark night of the soul. Now, those of us in spiritual circles know and understand that there are times of tremendous bliss. And we just walk through life and it just feels amazing. And every single day is incredible. And all day you're just talking with the angels and laughing and just blissful. And then sometimes there's this time where it's called the dark night of the soul because it feels like you're totally somehow alone after being surrounded by all of these loving spirits and entities. Now, all of a sudden, you're completely alone. And I've come to know for me that the dark night of the soul is a time where the angels can't really help you. It's like they're sort of forbidden. It's almost a test to see if now you have enough tools to deal with yourself and to walk yourself through life and find your bliss and find ways to restore and renew yourself without so-called God or angels or spirit guides or any of the celestial help that we normally have. It's almost like they are muzzled for a short time, and that time passes, and then they're back, and everything feels normal again. But what I've come to understand is that the dark night of the soul begins in the teen years, as we are moving from childhood, where the bliss is constant, where there's constant forgiveness and oh, I just forgot what happened, whatever the bad thing was. It happened 5 minutes ago and now I'm happy again. That's childhood. That bliss moves into what I call teenage angst, which is kind of the first time we grapple with the dark night of the soul. And as a teenager, they don't know what's happening. They just know all of a sudden they're sad, and this sadness is there, or this loneliness, or this isolation feeling, or this feeling of being unloved, and there are no words to describe exactly what it is, because in our culture, we're not teaching from a spiritual perspective. It's just all, oh, that's teenagers. They're horrible people. They're moody. They have wild mood swings. And these are mood swings. But the mood swings come out of them having no way to really describe what's happening. Where's my constant joy? Where did it go? How do I get it back? How do I restore it? And so we need to have tools in society that give children and those of us who are not so much children anymore ways to deal with these things. Now, again, to circle back to mental illness, I really am starting to feel that somewhere, because most mental illness seems to emerge during the adolescent years, there's a connection between the dark night of the soul and its initial onset, and the coping mechanisms that a particular person employs to get them through the dark night of the soul. So for some, it may be some, I don't know, entity shows up that they can see, but no one else can see, and that entity helps them through and talks to them and talks them through their dark night of the soul as an adolescent. And so later, that entity may be joined by others, and that grows into what we call in abnormal psychology schizophrenia. Or maybe they cope with their dark night by just going so deep into solitude that it becomes a sort of catatonic space for them, and a deep sort of retreat that is labeled something else in the world of mental illness or depression. So it's they're all kind of tying themselves together for me now, and I feel that the mystery of mental illness has to be unlocked in order for a true healing and renewal of our minds to occur. And again, because I'm all about mind, body, spirit, and the holistic approach to everything, there is a way to integrate what's happening in a person's mind with their spirit and into their body for release and expression so that it can be renewed. So those are my reflections this day. Today's episode is brought to you by Tassili's Raw Reality, voted Atlanta's best raw vegan cuisine, and I can vouch for it, honey. It's good. Join the Rawvolution. A little girl who was afraid to achieve, so optimistic, full of possibility, but scared to bring it 'cause she was